Ever since a baby, I'm trying to get away, trying to lock in the guap, trying to block all the pain. I'm a blind little boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting a lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the box and I'm copping the pain. We out for the stars of a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitch is a jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shetty. I'm bold like a boss, but I'm little like Debbie. I know what the bros, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti, yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like Durant do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, not taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in a great estate.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, that's Maddie, and this is our Week 17 wrap-up, Week 18 preview. It's a big week 18 it is.
Yeah, it's a weird, like Week 18 is always so weird because we actually have probably one of the biggest, highest leverage regular season games in NFL history coming up at the end of the week, and that's featuring your Vikings versus the Lions for basically the decider between the 1st seed and the 5th seed. That might be the highest leverage regular season game in NFL history. And then we have loads of games that don't fucking matter.
And it's going to be the first time any NFL team has won 14 games and had to be a wild card. Also, only 9 other times in NFL history has a team won 15 games. So, and the Vikings are one of those, so they could be 2 out of the 10.
Yeah, I know, right? It'd be pretty, like the Vikings have already done it, right? It would be pretty wild if the Lions, after the past like 40 years, became one of those teams to do it. Like, because I'm sure the Lions are going to go back into complete dysfunctionality soon at some point. So quiz questions will be coming back.
Brian Flores, stay tuned. We will get to it. I will give you the keys to beating the Detroit Lions, and it actually might surprise some of you.
Exactly. Brilliant. Well, Brian Flores, look out for that. We know you're watching, so look out for that one.
If he's watching, I'm actually mad at him, and why are you not preparing for the Detroit Lions?
Jay, I'm just going to take a quick victory lap.
Just so you know. Absolutely. Hey, You'll see more. We're going to have a whole thing on Sunday. I was waiting, but congratulations, Mr. Maddie. We got to test him for PEDs yet, but pending test results, the 3rd time in 4 years that he has won the Yankee and the Brit Fantasy Football Championship.
Thank you very much. All that hard work. Yeah.
I got to ask. How fucking weird was it that Moody had to go all straight fucking like Shankopotamus for you to win this thing?
So I went to bed. So I went to bed after Moody had I think he made 2 extra points. I was like, okay, like that's it. Like I just want like 2 extra points on 2 drives. And I think he just kicked the first field goal or something like that. And I was like, cool, like that's it. Like there's no point in me staying awake now because it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and I'm basically watching myself slowly lose fantasy because Brandon Aubrey missed a 61-yarder for the first time this season. It's the first time he missed a kick under 64 yards, I think, this season. The first time he missed a kick, and I was like, cool. I remember I saw that and I was like, cool, I'm missing it because of that. And then I woke up and you were like, congratulations to I was like, he's read this wrong. There's no way. And I went back and I watched the highlights before I even checked the stats and was like, Jake Moody, you beautiful man. What the hell just happened there? And also, Brock Purdy throwing 2 interceptions is also very helpful to the fact that I won by 1.2 points. Pain well played. Also, we both would have been pretty annoyed if we lost that game having scored 147 and 148, I think.
I'm going to find out the answer to this tomorrow morning when I record with Payne for the playlist. Shameless plug. Go check it out on Overtime Hustling. If he played his defense,
Yeah.
He beat you by 1.8 because the fucking Denver defense he has got 3 points.
Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't play a defense. And he also look, do you know what? It didn't look like that bad of a decision. Like 3 points, like usually in our league, 3 points, like if you lose by 3 points, that's considered really close. So it didn't look like a terrible decision until like Jake Moody's leg just completely fell off. But if he did pick up, so when people were like, oh, he should pick up a defense, if he picked up either the 49ers or the Lions defense, it would have actually made it worse for him because they both got minuses. I think the Lions got 1 because of the 2 interceptions.
Oh, how wild would that have been
well.
if you'd have beat him by 0.2?
Like 0.2 or 0.8 or whatever it was. Like that would have been
crazy. If he
crazy.
would have just played that Denver defense, though, but I think he was scared of it. I don't remember who they were playing, but I think he was
the
scared.
Bengals.
Yeah, I think they was afraid they were going to be negative, so he left them off. Yeah.
He had a few. He had like he was looking at it, and there was like a few minuses on the board. But I was surprised. But yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, if we're patting ourselves too, because I have 1 more week left because our championships is 2 weeks, but I'm in the money either way, and I have a chance at walking away with $600 when it's all said and done. So,
all right. I don't know. I can't. So when everybody's Matty's on P8,
well, it's $100. It's $100 to get it.
Yeah, that's good though. But when everyone's like Matty's on PEDs, I'm like, my PED is my ADHD, and the reason that I can't do more than one team, like because I just obsess. Like I can only do one, otherwise I just wouldn't have a life.
Matty, you're gonna get a knock from WADA in the middle of the night, the World Doping Agency.
Nice. Let's do. I'm in Eastern Europe.
We're gonna have a home there for you, and we're gonna get to the bottom of this.
I'm in an ex-Soviet Union country, Jay. Do you think we don't know how to hide PEDs?
Velcro.
Like. All right. Let's go on with reviewing some actual.
He's on the Russian cocktail.
Let's go on with reviewing some actual NFL games, move out of the world of fantasy. We will be coming back to the world of fantasy on Sunday to talk about our final fantasy picks. If your league is still going, good luck to you. Good luck to you, Jay. Hope you earn some money. So we're going to be going for our Week 17 reactions, where we're reacting to the biggest games of Week 17. We're then going to go through to our Week 17 overreactions, our Week 17 awards. We've got a segment of GMJ where we ask our GM the biggest questions of general managers in the NFL. And then we're going to come out with our Saturday predictions for Week 18 and our Week 18 best bets. So stay tuned for all of that. Jay, Week 17 reactions. First game I want to talk about is the Bengals versus the Broncos. Jay, should the Bengals now be considered a threat in the AFC?
All right, Maddie, my computer hated me for a second. What's the first game we're talking about?
So we're going to talk about... I was thinking, oh no, there's a bit of a delay there. We're going to be talking about the Bengals and the Broncos, Jay. Jay, should the Bengals now be considered a threat in the AFC?
They still need so much to happen for them to get in the playoffs. But if they get in the playoffs, motherfuckers better not want. Because I still don't have a ton of faith that they can go win a Super Bowl, but they can go fuck up somebody's season.
Yeah, I think the way that people are playing, and I've seen a lot of the hype of Joe Burrow an MVP level, and I do think if they scrape into the playoffs, then he should be getting MVP ballot votes, because obviously you get a top 5, and I think leaving Joe Burrow outside of the top 5, if the Bengals, I'm not a quarterback wins guy, but the MVP is an inherently quarterback wins kind of vote, isn't it? You need to credit the quarterback with wins if you're going to just give it to the MVP. And with Saquon Barkley sitting, that just hurts his MVP stats another. We'll talk about that in due course as well.
Yeah, we're going to talk about me finally fucking dragging Sirianni, but okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, that's all right. So yeah, with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins really showed out this week as well. Like the Broncos defense is great. I've seen some people saying Patrick Surtain should be up for Defensive Player of the Year just due to the fact that there's nobody's had an amazing pass rushing season or anything like that. I think they are a threat because of their offensive side of the ball, but Jay, the thing that makes them not a threat for the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, and yeah, they could fuck up one team season in the wild card round, but the thing that makes them not a threat is their coach can't manage the game clock. Like the end of the game in that game was, I know some people are saying score the touchdown less quickly and all of that kind of stuff. Like I don't necessarily agree with that once you're in the red zone,
and it's a touchdown.
You can make the drive. Yeah,
and it's a touchdown, right? Like it's the dumbest fan thing in the world to say it shouldn't have scored that touchdown so fast. Now, I will say to you sometimes I think they scored too quick, but that's just because I'm saying, there's too much time on the clock. That doesn't mean I think they scored the touchdown too fast.
Yeah, it's once you're in the red zone, score the fucking touchdown, right? Yeah. But they were moving that ball so freely that I thought they could have just eked a bit more time out of that drive. Like they didn't have to go down on the drive passing all the way down. They could have eked a bit more time on the drive. And I think we wouldn't be talking about this if Zach Taylor had done more in the past. Like if Zach Taylor hadn't done this over and over again with bad clock management, then it would just be, they scored the touchdown. You score the touchdown. Like always go in and score the touchdown against a good defense, and then hopefully your defense will shape up. And the other reason is their defense just isn't good enough. Like their defense isn't good enough. And I know they've been winning games, but a lot of it is just down to the fact that Joe Burrow is fucking superhuman. Like their defense still isn't good enough to run with the likes of Kansas City, to run with the likes of the Bills and those kind of organizations. So I don't think they're a threat for the actual AFC Championship.
No, me neither. And stay tuned because it's like Maddie reads my mind to overreactions because we may be talking about clock management again.
Yeah, we do love a bit of clock management chat, especially since Mike McCarthy has been at the Dallas Cowboys. Jay, they're 2, 3, 4. They're now 4 wins in a row, the Cincinnati Bengals as well. But I would just like to read out who they're against. So the Dallas Cowboys, which obviously that weird special teams play, so a bit fluky. The Tennessee Titans, who are a 3-win team. The Cleveland Browns, who are a 3-win team. And then the Broncos, which is a good win. Like I would say the Broncos in overtime, I would say is actually a good win. But before that, they lose to the Steelers, conceding 44 points. They lose to the Chargers, conceding 34 points. They lose to the Ravens, conceding 35 points. You know, like the Eagles, 37 points. Like if you look at them against actual playoff teams, their record is horrendous. So surprise, guys, I'm still not a big fan on the Bengals because I don't believe they're a great like organization as a whole. But yeah, they fucked me in best bets, so that's good. Jay, how do you rate Bo Nix's season? Because a lot of people are coming off the back of that game saying like Bo Nix is elite and stuff like that, and I thought he had some elite plays, but I think it shows his season how he's still a rookie and there's still a building process. Because in overtime, he wasn't there. That magic was gone.
So I give it a season a B, and I'll tell you why. Because you said the ups and the downs. I think he has potential, but I also think he has the potential to never get that dumb shit out of his game. So we'll see what him and Sean Payton can do. If he can get the stupid fucking, and he doesn't have a ton of like bad plays. But it seems like when he has a bad play, it's either at the worst time or it's the worst possible bad play.
Yeah, it's like I think I'm starting to see more and more like Brock Purdy aspects to his game. Obviously, Bo Nix is a first overall pick, so he doesn't get as much like just straight out the door hate that Brock Purdy would get. But Brock Purdy has those, we'll talk about him in a second as well, where he has those moments of like Brock Purdy actually plays very clean and consistent football until he doesn't. And it's always in the worst moments of the game where he does that. If you look at his like fourth quarter trailing stats. So Bo Nix has that same issue.
I think we're going to see a trend, but we need the first team to do it. But I think once they do, we're going to see a trend of teams who have good but not great quarterbacks go, yeah, you're Kirk Cousins, like you're middle of the road, you're Brock Purdy, we're not paying you. We're going with a rookie, have a good one, move on. And I think what will happen is that will end up driving down the mid-level quarterback prices, and then teams will start keeping these guys again.
Yeah, hopefully. This looks like the offseason to do it as well with Brock Purdy, Geno Smith for contracts. Who else? There's someone else that I'm thinking of as well. And just
I would say Sam Darnold, but I think Minnesota fans would burn down Minneapolis if they don't bring him back.
Yeah, but you don't have to pay Sam Darnold. Like Sam Darnold isn't 40. Okay, I think 40 is like a decent thing for a middle of the road quarterback, to be honest, considering he's just like he's not playing middle of the road this year either.
Look, I'm not bringing him back if it's me, but that's just me. Okay, I'm not doing it because I have that much faith in Kevin O'Connell with JJ McCarthy, but I have no problem with them bringing him back. But you know how I know they're bringing him back? You know what they're calling him in Minneapolis?
Go on.
Ginger Jesus.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, that obviously means so much more in the States than it does.
Well, the fact that they even say it means that how much they love him. And then I know everybody saw the video. We can get to that later, but yeah. So you agree they're going to stop bringing middle of the road quarterbacks, or you think that nobody's going to ever have the balls to do it? Because you think Sean Payton's the type of guy that could go with Bo Nix and then like year 4 go, yeah, I'm not feeling it, and draft somebody else and trade Nix away?
Well, I think with Bo Nix, like Bo Nix does scream to me like never going to be top tier quarterback, but you can easily get yourself to an AFC Championship game, a Super Bowl, and once you're in those 2 games, you don't know what's going to happen. That's what I'm kind of got Bo Nix at the moment. Okay. I think by the time Bo Nix comes around, we will have seen the contract for Bo Nix comes around. We will have seen the devaluation of those kind of quarterbacks. Like I think because of how ready quarterbacks are coming out of college as well. Like in the next draft class, you have Shedeur Sanders, who is going to be great. The draft class after that, or a couple of draft classes after that, you've got Archie Manning coming out, who's going to be great. So you get these guys already.
But don't sleep on the kid from Notre Dame coming out this year either.
Is that Leonard? Jake Leonard? Is that who that is, or is that someone else?
I was just watching some of his fucking highlights the other night, though. I got to dive more into it, but I was like, this kid can make fucking throws.
But when you look at quarterbacks like Bo Nix and Michael Penix, they're coming out so QB ready because of how many games that they've played in college. And how many games that they played in high school and how many throws that they've done like before that and all of that kind of stuff, that I think you can move to rookie quarterbacks.
Does it make their ceiling lower though? So, because I always said this, I don't know if you remember Jimmy Clausen. He was drafted the year before Cam Newton, and it was supposed to be the, star quarterback. And I was like, he's as good as he's ever going to get coming out of college. He is never getting any better. So, like, I don't know if their ceiling's lower, maybe.
Well, I don't know. Their ceiling remains the same as it would be. It's just they're already at it by the time they come into the NFL. Like, that would still be their ceiling.
That's what I mean. Their NFL ceiling. Yeah. Their ceiling from the day they got drafted is lower than Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, fucking JJ McCarthy, these 21-year-olds.
Yeah, definitely. Their ceiling's low. It's like you already know what you're going to get.
24, actually. My bad.
Yeah, you already know what you're going to get with. You already know what you're going to get with these guys who are coming out, and we're never going to see as experienced quarterbacks as Bo Nix and Michael Penix again, because obviously they have the COVID years to fall back on as well. So we're never going to see that level of experience in the college game ever again. But well, fingers crossed. Hopefully, unless they change the rules around it. But yeah, so I think we'll see the valuation drop, and I think by the time that Bo Nix comes around, that will be at that point. So I can see Sean Payton and Bo Nix going in Denver for a long, long time. And that 4th and 11 play that they scored a touchdown on to tie the game, that's why. Like that right there, because Bo Nix has that. Bo Nix has the experience on his head to run an NFL offense. And he's just got those little flickers of special moments that you want when you're looking for the extra. It's why Dak Prescott was so tempting, because Dak Prescott comes in and he runs an NFL offense, and then he just has these seasons where he throws for like the second most yards in the NFL, and he throws for like those kind of things. So I can see that kind of thing from Bo Nix.
I used to always wonder if Sean Payton was always going to be like, "You ain't Drew Brees."
Yeah, I was watching this show, and it's like about this girl whose ex-boyfriend died. So it's like, oh, you're never going to beat the dead ex-boyfriend. Like, you're never going to be better than that. The memory of the dead ex-boyfriend. So like maybe that's Sean Payton now with Drew Brees forever.
Yeah.
Maybe forever.
That might be Mike McCarthy going, "Dak, you're good, but you're not a prime Aaron Rodgers." Or even Brett Favre.
Yeah. I don't think many people are that though. Jay, just a final question on the Broncos-Bengals game. Why didn't the Broncos go for 2 points? Why didn't they go for 2 points there? I was just like, one play to decide whether you're in the NFL playoffs this week or you're in the NFL playoffs next week. Like, just one play. Why take it to overtime at that point when your defense can't stop them?
I think it goes to, do you trust? Do you have a play you trust, right? But it goes back to, like, I think defensive coaching makes you more scared when you have a defensive head coach. And I think an offensive minded head coach would have went for that. Yeah, well, I mean,
Sean Payton is a offensive minded head coach. So it's like you just sat on the the 2 point conversion.
I didn't mean it like just Sean Payton is that old school, don't like risk it, take a chance. I meant the new modern day. Like,
that makes sense.
I said that completely wrong, but like these old school rely on my defense, punt it away, and then we'll beat you with our offense. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think any of these young coaches any of them go for that. Mm-hmm. I think from Kyle Shanahan down, right? Like, they go for that.
Yeah. I mean, the one reason I think maybe not is the tie. Like the tie also got the Broncos in. So the Broncos had two results that got them into the playoffs. So like the win and the tie. But your defense.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. So that actually that's an even better move now that you think about it, because because you can tie your way into the playoff. Like the Vikings could have did that a couple years ago, tied their way in and to a division title, but they still went for the win in overtime.
Yeah, and so he could have tied his way in, and he was kind of proved right, because on the first drive, McPherson misses that field goal. They stop the Bengals offense, and it's like, okay, drive us down, Bo Nix. But then they just don't go anywhere, and they could have actually just timed out that game, like timed it out, left with the draw, and moved their way down, but they just didn't get the ball moving. So, like, Sean Payton did get the stop, was vindicated on that, and then just the offense couldn't get moving. But if it was me, and it was one play to get into the NFL playoffs from the 2-yard line, I'm taking it. Like, I'm taking it because I've got another week to go. And also there's the rest and not having to play another quarter of football in overtime. So, yeah, I think that might have been a bit of a misstep. We'll see if the Broncos can get it done against the Chiefs. The Broncos are 10.5-point favorites against the Chiefs because the Chiefs are sitting everybody. But
there's some wild fucking
some crazy spreads. Yeah, crazy spreads when you just read them off the sheet. Jay, how good was your week when the Vikings beat the Packers? Like, how did you feel after that? And Jay, where will Sam Darnold end up on MVP ballots?
All right. So it took a lot of self-medication to get through that game. I can tell you that. Self-medicated through that game. Can we just put a fucking team away already? I can't fucking stand that we can't just fucking put a team away. And part of it's on the defense, and I'm not shitting on the defense, but like, I just fucking can't stand that we can't, like, because we had our foot on the neck of the Packers and could have just put that fucking thing away and not made me sweat balls. But I will say, the end of the game made me so happy when Kevin O'Connell didn't just run the ball 3 times and then punt it back. First down, play action, boom. Second down, fucking run the ball. Or then it'd be first down again, runs the ball, second down, hits JJ for like 8 yards. So it's like fucking 3rd and 2, and play action over to Cam Akers. Like, I loved it. He was aggressive. He was like, I'm not giving Jordan Love the fucking ball back. Nick Saban once said, if you can end the game on offense, do that. That's literally his quote. If you can end the game on offense, do that. Like, and that is so simple, but true. I came away with the game, like, feeling good because the Packers, if you literally think about the Packers, yes, they have 5 losses, but they've only lost to 3 teams. Twice to the Vikings, twice to the Lions, once to the Eagles. 3 monster teams. Like, they beat everybody else they put in front of them. So, I mean, it was a good win, and I love the way that the Vikings defense locked up on that receiving core. Like, they still had some plays, but they didn't go off. I was really impressed. Sam Darnold played his fucking ass off, and KOC coached an awesome game. I was mad at him for a second, though, Maddie. So at half, going into the half, they had 3 timeouts, and he's not calling the timeouts, But in his interview, he goes, we were playing for 3 points and get the ball back from the start of that drive. And I was like, okay, I'm not even mad at you. You're going to limit mistakes, get points, score again. You get to double up. So then I wasn't mad anymore. But I was like, at first going, are you fucking up the clock management? You're known for clock management. Are you fucking up the clock management? But I give him a pass because he explained it after the game.
Sam Darnold's weird going into halftime stats as well are like, he throws an interception on the last drive before halftime more often than any QB in the NFL at the moment. Yeah. So like, I don't think it's necessarily like a terrible idea to just not do that, like going in, especially when you're ahead. But the other way to take those Packers stats, Jay, I think is where, like, the Packers losses, I think it perfectly shows where the Packers are at as an organization right now. Like, as a team, they are not an NFC Championship Super Bowl team. They are building a very young team that they're a couple of steps away because their 5 losses are to the top 3 teams in the NFC.
I agree with you, but a team like that is scary because if they get hot for 3 games, they're playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know whether they have the talent ability to get hot. Like, they've been beat, kind of unlucky for that. I mean, they've been dominating the NFC North for a long time, so I'm not too sorry for them. But like, to have 2 14-win teams in your division is pretty intense as well. So you have to play them 4 times. You have to play 4 games against teams that have 14 wins.
I think they have 11 wins, which would probably have them any other year, like in the battle for the division.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the other two NFC divisions, they'd still be second in the NFC East, but the NFC South and the NFC West, they'd be in the driving seat for their division with that many wins.
Yeah,
and they wouldn't have had to play against the 14 wins. So, like, I get it. Like, I'd say the Packers are probably the third
they're definitely
or fourth best team in the NFC.
Though. That's like nobody wants to play them either.
Yeah, the top 5 team in the NFC, definitely. But also, Jay, what I wanted to allude to is that weird, like, Vikings giving the game away, and it's just how quickly they go to prevent defense for me. Like, when you watch them, you watch them at the start of the 4th quarter going like, okay, we're just playing prevent now.
Well, the problem is that it's not even a prevent defense. They just stop blitzing. And I'm like, why stop blitzing? Like it's come the fuck on. Like, just keep blitzing.
Yeah. It's just dropped straight back into coverage. And it's like, no. That's not what you guys are good at. Like, you guys actually aren't aren't amazing in terms of stopping passing yards, but what you are amazing at is getting to the quarterback, which stops drives. Like it stops a drive getting to the quarterback, but you can't stop like passing yards.
This is how you beat the Lions. You don't blitz. Don't fucking blitz. Jared Goff under the blitz, 77% completion rate when blitzed. Fucking change it up, disguise your drops, make him still think people are coming, and then you got to get there with your 4, not sacks, but you got to get pressure with your 4. But drop on him every play. Stop blitzing. Stop blitzing this whole game.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty tempting to blitz against that offensive line, trying to get pressure with 4 against that offensive line.
77% against the blitz.
Exactly. Yeah, like I think that's why he gets blitzed because of that offensive line. But I agree with you. Like Jared Goff against the blitz, because of the way that they run that, offense is quick reads as well. It's like Kyle Shanahan's offense, where you know how we were talking about the Bears offense. And how you can see Caleb Williams reads, his progressions don't go across the field. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, like, and he has to like switch the whole time. You can watch in KOC has the same. It's why Sam Darnold's massively improved his decision making. But Ben Johnson's defense and Kyle Shanahan's, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, like the reads go right across the field. So it's just much easier to read it on the blitz as well. So Sean McVay's the same. So Jared Goff has grown up in that offense. So, yeah, I'm not sure how much blitzing helps you.
Did you see that he said that it's reported, it's his agent, reported to Schefter that he's interested in the job, but he wants Poles out and he wants to bring his own GM with him.
I don't necessarily think Poles has done a horrendous job in Chicago.
Me neither. But
like, maybe it's like if you're getting a new coach, you kind of want the GM. Like if you're starting a new dawn, like why hold on to like past shit,
Now they're talking that Flores is another guy that the Bears are interested in, which is fine, like great coach. But why would you do that with Caleb Williams there? It doesn't make sense to me.
That would be a very Chicago Bears with an 85 Bears call to do, not what they actually need to progress forward. In the NFL as well. Like I'd be surprised at that. But Jay, just to finish on the Vikings and their weird prevent defense, well, not prevent defense, but their weird stats.
Right.
Against the Vikings versus the Packers in the first 3 quarters of both games, the Vikings 55, Packers 17. So the Vikings won 55-17 in the first 3 quarters of both of those games. And they both finished in 1-score games because in the 4th quarter, the Vikings scored 3 points and the Packers scored 37.
Yeah.
It's just a real microcosm of that. I feel like they move away from that defense, just one drive too quickly, like one more drive in the 4th quarter, like blitz.
You're afraid to give up the big play. I get that, but do what got you there. You know what I mean? Stick with what got you there. Blitz, mix it up. Okay, they blitz at the highest rate in the league, which is like 44% or something. Okay, Flores, if you really want to like calm it down, blitz at 37% or something. Like, but still, like blitz, like come the fuck on.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Vikings are known for giving up huge plays a lot. You know what I mean? So you have great safeties that will make up for a lot of mistakes if the corners have mistakes. Yeah, you might get completions, but still pressure them, make them think, and that might lead to a turnover. That pressuring, quick, bad throw. I don't know. It drives me insane.
Yeah, it's weird. Like when you read out those numbers, it's pretty crazy. Hopefully they'll.
We have really good corners, but Byron Murphy's the only one that's not old. Okay. We cannot ask Stephon Gilmore and fucking Shaq Griffin to cover for 5 to 6 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. And I think
anymore.
Stephon Gilmore is an awesome corner. Like when he was a Cowboy, he was awesome, but the Cowboys pass rush gets there in 3 seconds, 4 seconds. So like
he's been great for the Vikings too because of all
exactly
pass rush. But
he's amazing. Like Stephon Gilmore is amazing at reading the game. He is still brilliant. Like he will divulge exactly what a team is trying to do, which means if it's only covering for 3 seconds, he can stop that. The issue is if the wide receiver is then able to get a double move on Stephon Gilmore, then he's fucked. And he's smart enough to hold. is the other part of Gilmore. Like, he's smart enough to know he's going to get absolutely cooked. So he will just hold the guy and just pull him back. So that's why he doesn't give up the big play.
I do love that you don't ever really see a pass interference either. It's always holding, which, okay, it gives up the first down, but it's only 5 yards. So you're like, okay, there you go.
It stops a big play. Like, when people get mad at corners for holding, sometimes you watch it and it's like, okay, you've held because you've just completely misread that play. Like, Trayvon Diggs gets called for that quite a lot. Like, because Trayvon Diggs just completely misreads plays and over gambles. So you get annoyed at that. But Stephon Gilmore, you're like, okay, you're just about to get cooked. So thank you very much for holding that player.
So I'm in the state tournament for hockey. I play defense. It's the opening game of the state tournament. It's a tough game. It's a tough fucking team. And I literally think we were the 2 best teams in that tournament, and we got matched up against each other in the first round, which is sad for them because I think, but I get fucking burnt on defense on a pass, and I literally just tackled the fucking guy as he crosses the fucking red line, right? Because it's before the blue line, so it's not a penalty shot. It's just me going to the penalty box. We get done with that quarter. We're in the locker room, and my coach really walks up and goes, "Best fucking play of the tournament." Because I was burnt. Like, it was better to play 4-on-5 than to give him 1-on-1 with our goalie. I literally tackled the guy from behind.
Yeah, we have a similar thing in soccer, football, where Man City have been the best team in the league, and the experts of the dark arts is what we call it, like the dark arts of winning a game.
Me and Harry Potter, I like it.
Yeah, the dark arts. So it's you can basically give away professional fouls and you get a yellow card for it. But a yellow card in football, like, doesn't really do anything as long as you don't get a second one and then you get sent off for the whole game. But if a guy runs past, if you're on the counter attack, so you've been attacking and then all of a sudden you lose the ball and then it's 3-on-3 going the other way, you just wipe someone's leg out. And then you're just like, okay, like, we'll just wait back there. And it's like, Man City just have like loads and loads of yellow cards, but never a red card because they're never dumb enough to do it twice and stuff like that. And you just stop the break, and it kills exciting football, but it's what wins you games. It's what New Zealand, the All Blacks, used to be masters of it in rugby as well, where it's like, there's a saying in rugby where it's the person who cheats most successfully wins, because it's such a chaotic sport. It's like, if you cheat the most successfully, you're going to be the winner, is what we kind of say in rugby as well. So Stephon Gilmore, exponent of the dark arts.
Well, so I had a hockey coach, same hockey coach that used to tell me it's only cheating if you get caught. And also, I had a wrestling coach once, and he was joking, but he used to always say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's
little
certain penalties.
Like, as a defensive player, if you're in front of my goal, I'm going to hold your jersey. They're never going to see me holding your jersey. Or I used to like to take my stick and get it up under the breezers where there's no padding in the back and keep stabbing the guy in the back of the leg because he's not going to stand there. You know what I mean? But a ref is never going to see that.
There's certain penalties in the NFL that are acceptable, and secondary holding, I think, is one of them. I think that that's a very acceptable penalty. Like, that's okay. It's like offensive line holding in a lot of cases is actually not a terrible penalty to give away. Like, it's terrible if you're giving it away loads and loads and loads because you're just getting beat. But every now and again, if you just get beat on one play, 2 plays, and you're giving away an offensive holding, it just stops your quarterback from getting smoked, while you do it. So it's not horrendous. Before we hit it too,
Jordan Love's inaccuracy fucks with me, because Jordan Love is super inaccurate at times, and it fucks with me because sometimes he throws the most amazing ball, and other times he's like airmailing it over dudes' heads, and I am like, and that's actually one of the most scary plays. So it's what Jordan Love is coming, what Jordan Love is showing up week to week. And then I'll just end it by saying, like, Sam Darnold made big boy throws at big boy times the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think for me, Sam Darnold has to be on your MVP ballot now. Like,
I agree.
The Vikings, the Vikings have come through 2 gritty games and got there on Sam Darnold playing well. So he has to I don't think he's going to be the MVP, but I think if you're picking your top 5, Sam Darnold should be on the MVP ballot, right? Again, not a huge quarterback wins guy, but he has been the reason that the Vikings have won 2 games in a row, super gritty games as well.
We'll see what happens. So the Associated Press changed their rules after last year with Joe Flacco winning comeback player of the year from being shitty to good, not an injury or overcoming something. But the AP came out and said, even though that's the rule, they will not disregard any votes for Sam Darnold.
Fair enough. I think that's fair. Yeah.
How are you comeback player of the year? Why don't we have most improved player or something like that? Why comeback player of the year for coming back from you were sucking balls?
I think just the whole NFL award system needs a look at again.
It's all voted on by the writers, and that's all skewed if they like you or not.
NFL comeback player of the year, it's probably Joe Burrow at the moment. With all of his injuries the season before, it's probably Joe Burrow. From what I'm thinking.
Wasn't Joe Mixon hurt last year?
Yeah, maybe not as much as Joe. Joe Burrow missed games and has come back and is the Bengals and is the only reason the Bengals are in playoff contention. Joe Mixon's kind of gone off the boil a bit towards the end of the season, as well. But yeah, okay, Jay. Moving on to the Commanders versus the Falcons. This was an amazing game against 2 rookie quarterbacks. Great game, great football. Those Commanders are awesome to watch. Jay, but first we're gonna talk about the Falcons. Do you think the Falcons should have made the move to Michael Penix earlier, having seen how he plays?
No, because I think he played all right. What do you have? 217 or something? 1-1. I mean, he didn't light the world on fire. I don't know. I actually still think they moved off Kirk Cousins too soon, and it's nothing against Michael Penix. I just think Kirk gives you a better chance in a playoff run than Michael Penix, but okay.
Yeah, I think what people are looking at, right, is the Falcons. Is the Falcons seem to have improved during the time when Michael Penix is playing, but actually, the Falcons have won 9. They've won 8 games this season. They're 8-8. I think it was the hype coming into the season that killed Kirk Cousins. The hype for this Falcons team killed Kirk Cousins earlier on. Now, Michael Penix seems to have got something out of Kyle Pitts, seems to have got something out of with Drake London. They seem to have a good connection as well, which is what Falcons fans have wanted to see for a long time. So I don't know. I just don't a lot of people coming out and slating the Falcons for moving on to Michael Penix too early. I don't think that is what's happened here. I just think the whole situation was fucked from the start. I think they basically messed up this situation. They paid too much money for Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles, but Kirk Cousins' Achilles will probably be fine next year. Look at Aaron Rodgers. His Achilles will be okay. So what they've done here is just means whoever Kirk Cousins goes to next year for the vet minimum, because he's still going to get paid by the Falcons, they're going to get embarrassed by that and how good he's going to look, in my opinion. And then Michael Penix could be an elite pass rusher, and they could have Kirk Cousins, or you could have the money to go get elite pass rushers in free agency, and you could have played Michael Penix all season. They just jack of all trades, master of none is kind of what the Atlanta Falcons have done in the way that they did this. They just backed up. They made sure that they couldn't get called for making a bad decision, because they just made 2 decisions, but actually making those 2 decisions is a bad decision. I thought. Yeah, I don't think from the start.
I don't think anybody trades for Kirk. I don't think, why would you give up anything and take on that when you know he can do the Russell Wilson move? You can't keep him as the backup. I still think Penix is going to be a good quarterback. That isn't even my thought process on it. I just
100%.
If you actually make the playoffs, I think Kirk gives you a better chance than Penix does. And I actually think a lot of the problems wasn't Kirk. We've talked about this. You don't run play action. He was one of the best play action quarterbacks in the league for the last 4 or 5 years. But fuck, let's not run play action. You guys
And you
at the
have-
beginning of the year are so dysfunctional that your whole offensive line is set up to run a zone running scheme. And you're like, let's run a man-to-man running scheme. It took you a half a fucking season. And then you're putting Kirk in the pistol, which is the dumbest thing to fucking do. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and they have the perfect offensive personnel for play action as well, which I never got. Like, I never got. You have this big body wide receiver, Drake London, who doesn't get any fucking separation, but he's great at the catch point, and his big guy went for 106 yards against the Commanders. And you have Kyle Pitts, big body, tight end, decent at the catch point as well, but doesn't get loads of separation. What's a great way to get people separation? Or by falling people in play action. Like, that's a great way to do it. And Bijan is great out the backfield, and you can fucking believe that they're going to hand the ball to Bijan play after play because he's a top 5 running back in the NFL at the moment. You know that they could run a game plan where they just run Bijan the entire time. So it makes no sense to me. So it's actually the offensive coaching that is the problem in Atlanta. It's the coaching problem as well.
The 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL to run the play action because they actually hide the ball like they really and then hide it is Kirk, Rodgers, and Baker. None of those, nobody runs it better than those 3. And for some reason, fucking, they're not letting Kirk do it. I think the coaching fucked this up. And I don't think Raheem Morris is the right guy to be the coach down there, but maybe I'm wrong and we'll see. I said it when they hired him. I honestly think that they should have took Belichick. Belichick would have handled it so much better. There wouldn't have been this kind of issue going on with them down there with Belichick. He'd have came in and been like, look, Kirk's going to be our quarterback for the next 3 years, and we are going to make a fucking run at this thing.
Yeah, and I think with Raheem Morris as well, like, he's a defensive coach with a defense isn't very good. Like, as soon as I see that, I'm like, okay, you can't be the head coach of a team if you're a defensive coach and your defense isn't very good. It's what Brandon Staley. It's why Brandon Staley was a terrible. How he lasted so long at the Chargers was unbelievable. It's why Zach Taylor's a ridiculous decision to stay at the Bengals, even if they make it to the playoffs. He's a ridiculous decision. So, I don't know. I think all props to Michael Penix. We really like Michael Penix coming out. I hope he has a long and successful career in the NFL because I really like him. And I really like left-handed quarterbacks. I think they're fun to watch, and I think it makes the game interesting. And Atlanta, with the stadium that they have, the city is the fan base. Like, they deserve a great NFL team. So I hope they play really well. But this is a ownership and coaching problem for me.
And if you're the right tackle, you love a left-handed quarterback too, because now you get paid like the left tackle instead of the right tackle.
Yeah, definitely. The Falcons can still make it into the playoffs. They need a few things to go their way. I think they need a Tampa Bay loss, and then they need some strength of schedule wins as well. So they're tied head to head in the. Then they're tied head to head in the division and in the.
But didn't they beat Tampa twice?
Did they not only beat Tampa once? Did Tampa not beat them when they?
I think they swept Tampa.
All right, okay. So they just need a Tampa Bay loss, and they can still be in the playoffs. So again, see, it's all of this shit about the Falcons having a terrible season, and they're 1 win and 1 loss away from like making the NFL playoffs. So anyway. But Jay, the team that they lost to, the Commanders, are going. This again looks different to the Texans last season to me, because the Commanders are just going crazy at the moment, and they're building like just a great organization. In DC, a huge population area, it'll be very popular to have a very good team there. A franchise that has a long history of success, but just hasn't had it over recent years. It pains me to see them doing so well. But Jay, can the Commanders make the playoffs?
Yeah, the Commanders.
The Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
Yeah, they could. I don't think they will, but I think they're another team that can cause problems. Like, here's the thing. They're going to start in LA, okay? Most likely is what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You beat LA, then you're either going to Minnesota or Detroit. Now, a running quarterback that talented can wreak havoc, right? So, especially if you have to play Detroit. Now they have no defense. Can you get into a shootout with Detroit? Maybe, right? But I mean, it's going to be a rough road. But no matter what happens, if they win a playoff game, even if they don't, but if they win a playoff game, this season is such a success.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels in that game threw for 227, ran for 127 yards. Like that's just crazy number. 3 touchdowns as well. Like he could actually break the QB running record for a rookie season if he went for it. If he went for it this week. So, yeah, I just think they're in such an excellent position. I think they've built an amazing coaching staff with an offensive coordinator who clearly understands Jaden Daniels, but then is making no noise about wanting to be a head coach in the NFL either. Like, that's the other thing about Cliff Kingsbury here is it would be really easy for Cliff Kingsbury to come out and make noise like Ben Johnson's agent has, saying he wants to take this job, he wants to take this job. I'm not sure Kingsbury does want to take those jobs. I think Kingsbury has said, I've tried it, didn't like it. I'm just going to be an offensive coordinator for the rest of my life. Dan Quinn is an excellent defensive coordinator and likes the head coaching stuff, so I'm just going to stay here the whole time.
And Kingsbury made a lot of money being the head coach at Arizona, but so he might also be sitting back and go, I love what I'm doing, and the only way I'm leaving is if the perfect job comes my way.
Yeah, and with Kingsbury, what people don't understand about this kind of wealth is like your investments and the interest. You don't even need to do investments, but just the interest in a high yield savings account makes more money than we all make in a year. Like, if he earned 15 million in his time in Arizona, then like he could be making 2 million a year just in interest payment in a high yield savings account and stuff.
He was out there 4 years, and from what I understand, he was making 8 a year. So I mean, take it how you want it,
yeah, exactly. So there's no need to go make the extra money. A lot
and
of the time
he was making a few million a year when he was coaching in college, and
There's no reason to, and he might. To be honest, he might see the Commanders' head coaching job as his perfect job. So maybe he goes, if the wheels ever fall off on Dan Quinn, if like Dan Quinn retires, like those kind of things, like then I'll just be the one who steps up into the Commanders' head coaching job, right? But why he's got Jaden Daniels? Why he's in Washington? Is Washington considered a good place to live? I can imagine it being like a good place to live.
Yeah, and nobody like live. I mean, people do, but nobody with money lives in Washington. They live in the DC suburbs, which is actually like Baltimore or not Baltimore, it's Maryland and like different places. It's not actually DC.
Yeah, but like good little metropolitan area to live in. Like, why would he go do anything else? So I think the Commanders have built something here to last. Like, I'm already looking at it, and I know it's only been 1 year, but this is to last because I know what a great coach Dan Quinn is. He completely changed life for the Dallas Cowboys defense 2 seasons ago. It was amazing.
And our Congress just passed it so that they can go rebuild the stadium at the old JFK. So,
yeah, getting a new stadium rebuilt, like everything is good for the Commanders at the moment. The one thing I would say is we have just said how if you're a defensive head coach and your defense isn't playing well, then you need to look into that. But it's different.
I think Dan Quinn's defense is actually playing better than its talent right now. And I feel like if you give him another year or two, we're going to see a completely different defense. And
yes, if you actually look at the roster of the Washington Commanders, there aren't many teams in the NFL. Like, if you took Jaden Daniels off that roster, there's not many teams in the NFL that would want that roster right now. Like, there are no winning teams that would want that roster without Jaden Daniels on it. So I think it's actually just a statement to how good Jaden Daniels has been, because Scary Terriers is only like really good. Like Zacchaeus is amazing with Jaden Daniels there. Like Zacchaeus has just come from nowhere. as well. So you have Jaden Daniels playing amazing, and then the defense is just a group of nobodies. So if I'm the Washington Commanders going into next season, I'm just drafting blue chip defensive players to try and get Dan Quinn's defense firing, and then maybe get a wide receiver in free agency as well. But I think they're amazing, and I definitely think they can go to the Super Bowl because I think they beat the Lions. I think if they played the Lions, I think they beat the Lions today. Like, we'll see how healthy the Lions get in the playoffs and those kind of things, but with how unhealthy the defense is, and then a good way to beat the Brian Flores defense is a running quarterback. So I think they are, and they've already beat the Eagles. They've already beat the Eagles as well. So the top three teams in the NFC, I think they're a really bad matchup for.
I don't disagree. I just think it's a hard road coming from that wild card spot.
Yeah, hard.
Most likely you're going to have to play 2 out of the 3 of them to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and going on the road to do it all. I don't look.
And it's starting in LA ain't going to be fun.
Yeah, it's not going to be my Super Bowl pick when we get round to that. But I think like the NFC is the most the NFC and the AFC. The NFC is way more even out than the AFC, in my opinion. Like in the AFC, the top 3 teams are just much better than everybody else. Jay, moving on to our final reaction of Week 17, the 49ers went up against the Detroit Lions. The Lions won in the end by 4 points in a massive shootout. Jay, is Brock Purdy the biggest problem at the San Francisco 49ers?
Okay, a few weeks back, I said in our overreactions, it is time to not pay Brock Purdy. I don't mind if you keep him around on his rookie contract, maybe even if you feel like you need to franchise him 1 year. Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't think you pay him $50-60 million. I do think that Brock Purdy is an average quarterback with a really good coach who has benefited from having a really great roster around him, which is fine on the rookie deal. But once that deal's up, that's why I said, is Shanahan going to be maybe the first one to move on? Does Shanahan trade Brock Purdy in this offseason with 1 year left and bring in Kirk Cousins at the league minimum for a year and see what they can do? I wouldn't be shocked. He loves Kirk. I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure they're sold on Brock Purdy either. They're never going to come out and trash him in the media, but I'll give them credit. They moved on from Trey Lance, who they gave up 3 first rounds plus a ton of shit to go get. So maybe they are the organization to just say, nope, not good enough. Jimmy Garoppolo, we gave up a second, not good enough. Trey Lance, we moved on, not good enough. Brock Purdy, not good enough. Maybe they just keep it going until they find their guy.
Yeah, I think with
he loved what's his name? Fuck, why did it just escape me? Mac Jones. Maybe Mac he Jones. Loves Mac Jones in the draft. Maybe he gets Mac Jones at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think I agree with you because I think the 49ers are a team that could do this. Jimmy G got them to a fucking Super Bowl. If you actually compare Jimmy G's numbers and Brock Purdy's numbers, they're very, very similar. They're eerily close together. So you can look at that. And what did they do to get out of Jimmy G? Or they gave away 3 first-round picks to move up to the 3rd pick in the draft and go take Trey Lance. Now, it didn't work, and they got Brock Purdy in that same draft. They got Brock Purdy in that same draft as well. So, but it just shows that they're willing to make those big moves at quarterback. And it's because they run such a quarterback-friendly system. You can make those big moves and still then pick somebody up. For me, I keep Brock Purdy next year, but I also bring in a Kirk Cousins, a vet, and just let them go compete for it throughout the season.
Yes, and this is also Kyle Shanahan, son of Mike Shanahan, who the team in Washington gave up a gazillion picks to move up to get fucking RG3. And with their 2nd pick of the draft, which was in the 4th round, took Kirk Cousins because he didn't believe in the RG3 and he hedged his bets. And as soon as he could, moved on to Kirk Cousins. So, like, it's a family thing. Maybe that's it. Like, yeah, it's really, I think it's actually a benefit to your organization. And people could be like, they could figure out how to twist it into, oh, he's had all these quarterbacks, he can't win. I would say we identify this guy is not the guy we need. Let's move on and start again. Move on. You do it with any other position. Why wouldn't you do it? Like if your left tackle sucking balls, you're going to get a new left tackle, right? Like if your left tackle is average, but you can upgrade at left tackle, you're going to do it. And teams don't do that with quarterbacks because they're afraid to fail, like swing and miss. And I don't think the 49ers are.
Yeah, and I think there's no point in not having Brock Purdy on your roster if you're the 49ers next year, unless you get some trade value for him because of how cheap he is. So you may as well just have him there. But I would bring in.
Well, because he's got 1 year left. I was like, if you can trade him and
exactly,
a first or a late first or a couple seconds or something.
Yeah. Just some numbers on Brock Purdy though in the fourth quarter. So for me, Brock Purdy is a good quarterback in the NFL, but he's just proved that he's a fourth quarter liability for them. Saying this, he has won them an NFC Championship game against the Lions, like playing from the fourth quarter. So take that as a caveat with this. Or did the Lions fuck it and give it up? Exactly. That's
because you're not a quarterback's win and loss guy. So did he win that game?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the Lions coughed that up. The 49ers also played great ball in the second half. But Brock Purdy was part of it, but he's a fourth quarter liability the rest of the time. So when they're down by 8 or less points, 7 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 52.9 passer rating in the fourth quarter. If they're trailing by 8 or less in the fourth quarter.
That's a one-score game. That's when you got to be at your best.
That's not $50 million quarterback. That's barely winning quarterback.
Look, I am a guy who has praised Brock Purdy in the past and shit on Sam Darnold in the past, and I will tell you, Sam Darnold is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy right now.
Yeah, how much older is Sam Darnold than Brock Purdy?
Sam Darnold
about
is 3 years.
Yeah, it's only about 3 years. I think.
No, he's got 10 years left in it as a top quarterback if he can keep this form.
Yeah, for me, the Vikings should franchise tag Darnold, and then call San Francisco and see what you can get for him. As well. Maybe the 49ers come back and say, well, we'll take JJ McCarthy for this amount.
You don't give up.
Maybe they say
they've already.
I agree.
I
agree. Don't give up JJ.
Shit down.
I agree. Don't give up JJ because then you just give up the rookie contract deal and all of those kind of things anyway. But anyway, for me also, San Francisco really need to retool their defense is old. Ricky Pearsall looks like a good pickup for them. I'd get rid of
That is my favorite story of the NFL this year is Ricky Pearsall. Love what he is doing in San Francisco, and after what happened with him with the shot in the chest over a robbery, best story in the NFL this year.
Could almost give him comeback player of the year, Ricky Pearsall. But obviously he didn't come back from last year to this year, so it doesn't really work. But they do got shot in the offseason. So so I think the 49ers could do with retooling. The defense is a bit old now. They're always injured. I said this at the start of the season this year that the 49ers fall off because they're always fucking injured. Like we said this the whole time. So they could do with retooling. So if I'm them, I'm not in the draft conversation for a QB this year. I'm Brock Purdy still on his rookie deal, bringing a vet to compete with him, retool while you're in that situation through the draft as well. And then you can make your QB decision with a much stronger roster in those conversations. Jay, why did Dan Campbell play his full team for this whole game?
Well, man, you see, man, we're dogs, man, and we're going to bite kneecaps, man. So we went out there, man, and we're going to give it all we got, man. And this is just who we are as a team, man. We're a team that goes out there to win, man.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there and win. But luckily, they didn't get fucking anybody seriously injured. I don't know. I get it. They're like, yeah, this is like who we are. You could have got a bye right there.
Yeah, they had They haven't had a bye since week 5.
Yeah.
When your bye's in week 5, like you're a play them, don't rest them guy, like going into the playoffs and those kind of things, right? But if you haven't had a bye week since week 5 and your playoffs start next week, like your playoffs don't start when the playoffs start. Now, you could get a bye as well if you win the game against Minnesota, but really your playoffs start this week. But you could have had a bye going in.
I don't like taking a bye when you have a bye coming, right? Because then it's 3 weeks without playing football.
Yeah.
But this wouldn't be that because you take that bye, let those guys rest up, play the Vikings, and then if you win, you get another bye. If not, at least you got that rest. It didn't make sense to me, but okay, whatever.
And they're playing the game, on Monday night, which shortens your week. So they could have, it made no sense to me. And the reason this doesn't make sense is this whole, that's who we are, we're dogs. Like, I've heard a few people say, they're like Chris Broussard coming out and saying, they're a vibes team. They need to keep the vibes up. No, their roster is too good. Like, the only reason they're a vibes team is because their coach isn't good enough. Like, the only reason to make it not a vibes team, like, their coach is not good enough to say, oh yeah, we have one of the best rosters in the NFL. We should be smashing these teams. Like, this game shouldn't have been close. Like, the 49ers are not a good football team this year. The only reason it's close is because your entire defense is injured because you play so hard to the whistle every time. Like we've been saying it. When you're blowing a team out by 50 points, why the fuck do you still have your stars in the game? There was no need for Aiden Hutchinson to be in the game when he got injured because you were already up by 20. Like, there was no need for your defensive players to continue getting injured, right? And I took this quote from the DetroitLions.com. They basically said, the biggest takeaway from that game is there was no injuries. However, Penei Sewell injured his thumb in the first half, but that doesn't look serious. Oh, just our best left tackle has injured his thumb because he was playing in a game that he didn't need to play in. Just our best offensive lineman, just one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL injured his thumb because he was playing in a game that he doesn't need to play in. Like, it's ridiculous. And Dan Campbell is just getting away with it because his team is winning. But his team should be winning. It's so, frustrating.
Yeah, I've been on the I want to drink a beer with Dan Campbell. I do not want to play for Dan Campbell bandwagon since day one. Like, he did turn that culture around. He's been great for Detroit, but I don't think they're a Super Bowl team with him, especially with this defense. And I think his bad coaching decisions are going to cost them. And then he's going to get a fucking pass. So here's what's going to happen. He's going to go for it on 4th down. He's going to fucking get stopped. He's going to lose a playoff game. And then they're going to say, he had to do it because that defense is so bad. He had to go. He was going for it when the defense wasn't bad. So we can't even say that that's the fucking problem.
Also, the defense is only so bad because he refuses to rest players. Like, Dan Campbell has played to win the regular season.
Do you know how many times this year I got mad at Kevin O'Connell because of fantasy football? Because in the 4th quarter, he decides, oh, we're up by 17. I'm not playing Aaron Jones anymore.
Yeah. But it's annoying for fantasy. It's annoying for fantasy football. But at least you go,
it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's because we're playing to win 20. Everyone's like, oh, the Chiefs. Why are the Chiefs?
He's 29-year-old running back. Let's give him some rest.
Yeah. The Chiefs play to win 20 games. Like, they play to win 20 games. They don't play to win 17. They play to win 20. Like, that's the. How do the Chiefs just switch it on when it comes towards the end of the season? Oh, because they've basically been practicing the rest of the year. Now, the Chiefs have also only got one loss, which is ridiculous. We'll talk about them in a sec when it comes to this Broncos game. And they now have the ability to rest their players and all of that kind of stuff. Sean McVay is resting all of the Rams players this week as well because he's there to win 20 games. He's not there to win. Why wouldn't you rest your players? And you're going into basically a playoff game where you haven't had a bye week since week 5. They should have just been preparing for this game. Didn't matter. But do you know what it is, Jay? The 49ers beat them in the NFC Championship game. the reason that they played the Dallas Cowboys to the final and had to put 50 points on them and got 2 defensive injuries whilst playing against the Dallas Cowboys, or because we should have beat them in the regular season. It's terrible coaching. You're meant to take the ego out of it.
I am the guy who always says, fuck that, it's the pros, just score, right? Like, don't, like, there's no, like, whatever, this is be nice, it's the NFL. Even I, during the Cowboys game, said, okay, Dan Campbell's taking this shit, but made this shit personal.
Yeah. It's like, we get it. Like, I was just watching it and I was like, we get it. I was like, we understand you're a much better team than the Dallas Cowboys, and we understand that you probably shouldn't have beat them. Like, we probably shouldn't have beat you last year, but, like, you got 2 defensive injuries during the fourth quarter in that game against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, that's on you. That's on you at that point. Well, like, when you're putting up a 50 on a team.
Beyond the refs, and if nobody remembers what happens, go to overtimehustling.com. I wrote up a whole thing on what happened in that game, an article for them. So that's on overtimehustling.com if you want to check that out from last year. But beyond the refs, fucking that whole situation up, and we don't have to get into that with the eligible and the Dan Campbell got in his feelings and went for it when he had a chance to just kick that field goal a dozen times. Like, a dozen's an exaggeration, but it felt like a dozen times.
It was 3 times he had the opportunity to come away with the field goal. But yeah, and it wasn't it like
too fucking 15 yards for.
Yeah, they finished the game on 4th and 15 and still went for the touchdown to finish off the game.
Yeah, 4th and goal from the 15.
4th and goal from the 15. Yeah, to like go and win the game. Weird. And he's just proved it in the NFC Championship game. Like, they lose in that game because Dan Campbell keeps on going for it on 4th down. Doesn't just say, okay, we're up by whatever, like 17 points going into the half. Let's just win this game and get out of here. It's no, we're going to go for it on 4th. It's what the fuck are you doing? And he's just so emotional. And it's this, the Detroit Lions, we're underdogs, we're scrappy. It's like, no, you're not. Like, now you are not. You are not an underdog. You can't win 14 games and be an underdog. Like, that's just not what's happening. That's not how the NFL works. So shut the fuck up. Right? Either change your mentality or go find another job. Like, Dan Campbell would do a great job in Tennessee, would do a great job in Chicago, would do a great job in the Jets. But nobody's going to do a great job in the Jets for other reasons outside of coaching.
Ryan.
Maybe apart from somebody who's already been in the Jets, actually. But Dan Campbell, like, to the Falcons or whatever, like a team that requires like a rebuild. Dan Campbell did a great job for the Detroit Lions, getting them to play hard, changing the culture. Now they need someone else because he can't coach at this level. This isn't the level that he can coach at. It's like you have these teachers who, like, they teach maths and they can't get students A's and A stars. Like, they can't teach that. But if you put them in the class with the kids who are struggling to get C's, everybody gets a C, or like everybody who was targeted to get an F in maths gets a C in their class. But he can never take a student who's targeted to get a B to get an A and an A star. You know, that's Dan Campbell. That's where he's at.
And maybe he needs to like get fired at some point, and then his second job, he can learn from what he made a mistake, because you do get better your second time around. Yeah.
Look, the Lions' offensive juggernaut is also ridiculous. So, great work to the Lions. Like, they're obviously a threat to anybody in the NFC just because of that offensive juggernaut. They've got defensive players are coming back. Anzalone is fit for the Vikings game, which is a big thing for them. So, yeah, great. But I just think their head coach is going to cost them going forward, which is a shame for the city of Chicago. It's a good thing for the city of Chicago. I meant a shame for the city of Detroit. Jay, moving on to segment 2, which is our week 17 overreactions. This is where we kind of go over the top to some of our reactions, take some of our hottest takes in the NFL for week 17. Jay, what is your first overreaction for week 17?
Way too many coaches in the NFL do not understand clock management, and they need to start a clinic in the offseason to teach coaches how to clock manage.
Yeah, it's it's surreal. Like, it's a really strange clock management epidemic where the NFL has all the money in the world. These organizations have all the money ever. Like, why isn't there just a guy, the clock management coach, like the coach for clock management, who just says, are you sure? Like, when they're playing the offensive calls in the fourth quarter or the second quarter, it's like, are you sure you want to do this? This is the clock management perspective, in the same way that they have analytics guys.
Well, they asked Kevin O'Connell about it, and they have a guy and Michael Pettin who are in his ear going, all right, 2 minutes, we got two timeouts left. And then they'll be in his ear like at 1:15, hey, we should probably take this timeout anytime from 1 minute to 1:50. And like, so he's always got people talking to him because he's got so much going on. Why don't every team do that? Like, why don't you have people talking to you during the game in your headset?
Yeah, Mike McCarthy at the Cowboys is terrible. Like his clock management is horrific. But yeah, I agree with that one. Clinic for clock management. Jay, my week 17 overreaction is the Cowboys need to build a roster to beat the Eagles. Like, you know how in the AFC West, everybody just builds their roster to beat the Chiefs. The Cowboys just need to build to beat the Eagles now, because the Eagles are such a poor matchup for the Dallas Cowboys and the way that the Dallas Cowboys defense can play. Like, Stephen A is out here saying that the Dallas Cowboys defense is the worst in the NFL again, which just the stats just say it is just totally not. It's just they're a terrible matchup against certain teams, and the Eagles being in our division, that's one of the teams that we're a terrible matchup for.
No, it's a smart idea, because they asked Brian Flores, what was your thoughts when building this defense? And he said, we built this defense to beat the Kyle Shanahan offense. And they said, well, Shanahan, why Shanahan? And he was like, Johnson, LaFleur, all from, you know what I mean? They're all, McVay, all these guys are from that tree. So they built that offense to beat it because it helps them win their division. You're always trying to build a team to win your division first.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's, like, I think on the offensive side of the ball, they're talented enough, and they have the defensive players to be these huge defensive players. What they don't have is the right personnel to go up against a good offensive line with an elite running back. And we have one of those in our division. Like, that's what we have in our division right now. So like, it's got to be built to beat the Eagles. And I don't necessarily think you can really build defenses to beat what the Commanders are doing. Like, that's not, like, they just have an amazingly talented guy at quarterback who you either stop or you don't stop. Like, this, they've already beat the Commanders once this season. They've got the Commanders again this week.
No, you got to scheme.
But it's the Eagles.
You got to scheme to beat a guy like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, exactly. It's not personnel, but like, the Cowboys just physically do not have the personnel on defense to go up against the Eagles. And this season, it should be about fixing the defensive personnel to go up against the Eagles. Don't think about anything else if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Jay, what's your second overreaction to week 17?
If the Vikings beat the Lions, Sam Darnold should be MVP and Kevin O'Connell Coach of the Year.
You think he should be MVP outright, beats Josh Allen, beats Lamar Jackson?
How many people before the season started said the Vikings weren't going to make the playoffs? They were going to be fourth in the division behind the Bears, right? How many people said Josh Allen's going to be great? He'll be fine. Josh Allen, he's going to go to the fucking playoffs. So, yeah, who's more valuable at this point? Who's more valuable to their team? I don't know. I don't think the Vikings are fucking where they're at without just amazing play by Sam Darnold. So, I don't know. I think if they get the number one seed and they beat the Lions and Kevin O'Connell Coach of the Year, Sam Darnold MVP.
I think it shows the difference between the NFC and the AFC there. So, like, the AFC is completely quarterback driven and the NFC is roster driven. So, like, people will say, and I don't necessarily agree with this, I don't like the title of most valuable player anyway, but the AFC quarterbacks are the ones who carry their team, and the NFC quarterbacks are built into their roster. So that's always going to hurt the NFC quarterbacks in MVP reckoning. That's what's going to hurt him. I don't think it should be that way, because if you win, right?
At what point are we going to stop pretending that Josh Allen doesn't have weapons?
Yeah, exactly. It's like everybody's just going with this narrative from like the start of the season. Josh Allen doesn't have weapons. Joe Burrow should be MVP because of how terrible his defense is. It's like,
Okay,
no,
wide
like,
receiver
Joe
core,
Burrow has,
check. Tight end room,
yeah,
check. Running back,
yeah,
check. Offensive line, check. Defense, okay. But that's not a Josh Allen thing. So, like,
yeah,
can we stop pretending that Josh Allen doesn't have weapons? I don't know.
yeah, exactly. It's so like because he
And
left
it's
Stephon Diggs,
most
he doesn't have
valuable player.
weapons.
It's not best player, right? So, like, that's the
Yeah,
thing, too.
yeah, it's such a
Did you
yeah, it's
see
just strange
that
world.
video of them Sam Darnold walks into the locker room, his whole team douses him with water and picks him
Yeah,
up. They love that fucking guy. That is something
I think,
special he
yeah,
did.
I think it's completely disingenuous if they don't have him on every NFL ballot in their top 5 pick. For those who don't understand how the NFL ballot works for MVP, you get 5 picks. And then, so the guy in second could win MVP. Like the guy who, if a guy is second on every single ballot, he could win MVP because he accumulated like the most points. Like you have points assigned to 1 to 5. As well, and they accumulate the most points. So I think it would be completely disingenuous if Sam Darnold is not on every single MVP ballot. And I think he'll just be, well, he sucks. We saw them at the Jets. He sucks. We saw them in Carolina. No. He did suck there, but could that not just be because the Jets and Carolina suck as well? And also, it's a seasonal award. It does not apply. Like you start with a clean slate at the start. It's why like Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, is more worthy of the MVP than Josh Allen, as well. But Lamar Jackson is MVP weariness. Like, or it'll be his 3rd MVP. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. You just start with this clean slate at the start of the season. So, yeah, I don't get it either. But yeah, I like that. I like Sam Darnold as well. You know, I've always liked Sam Darnold. Jay, the New York Giants. My second overreaction is to do with the New York Giants. The New York Giants are the NFL's most dysfunctional organization. Why? Why would you win that game? Like there was no like the reason that Dayball won that game. The reason Dayball won that game is because he knows he's not going to be there next year, so it doesn't matter to him. But it's why as soon as you have a coach that you know isn't going to be there next year, why the fuck is he still there? Like, because it just shows how it hurts you.
Locke was on fire.
Yeah, because Locke also knows he's probably not going to be there next year. Like you have so many players.
He's actually the guy who should be there next year, transitioning to a new quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they won't do that because they're the NFL's most dysfunctional franchise. Like, why the hell would you win that game? There's no reason. They moved from the 1st overall pick in the draft to the 5th because of that win. Now in a rookie class where there's only 2 good quarterbacks in there as well, they moved to the 5th of 3. The guy out of Notre Dame coming out as well, but it's still 5th. You're gonna have the move. So stupid, but good win, but it just proves that they're just not a good organization. Jay, what's your third overreaction?
The Patriots should fire Gerard Mayo.
Do you know what? For some reason, I knew that was going to be an over. Like I was surprised that it didn't come earlier. That overreaction. Go for it.
I don't know. I don't like the way he's coaching. There seems to be something still wrong in that building. Like something's not right in that building still. And I think there's some Bill Belichick remnants like left in there. That's why I'm not even sure you hire Vrabel. I'm not even sure you do that. I think you clean house, go get you an offensive coach to come in, work with fucking Drake May. You got the 1st overall pick. Like you can trade that for a boatload of shit to help your team. Like, go get an offensive coach. Go get an offensive coach to come in and redo that. I wouldn't hate Vrabel, but I almost feel like I said, there's some remnants. It's like the trace, the Horcrux, the evil magic leaves in Harry Potter, right? Like, you just got to get rid of
Harry
that.
Potter reference.
Yeah, like you got to get rid of that.
Yeah,
they're gonna stage the fuck out of that place or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So we had planned to do a New Year's show where it's the New Year's resolutions. Like I'd kind of work that out, like the New Year's resolutions for each team. And I would still like to do that. Maybe it's something that we do in between week 18 and the playoffs, where we go through and we make New Year's resolutions for every team. But my New Year's resolutions for the New England Patriots is admit that we need to change the Patriot way. It doesn't mean completely lose the Patriot way, because there are certain elements that I like about it. But in the modern day NFL, the Patriot way doesn't work. It's not working for you now.
It's the Belichick way, and he's no longer there.
Yeah, exactly. He's no longer, and it only really worked when Tom Brady was there as well. Like when you have an extra quarterback. Now,
I'm telling you, it's like when Jenny Weasley stabs Tom Riddle's diary, and Harry like sets the ring off later on in the series. Like it's that it left over traces from that dark magic that was there from Belichick, man.
Yeah, it's strange, and they have a quarterback. Like, we didn't like Drake May coming in, but Drake May is an NFL quarterback. Like, he's playing behind an absolutely woeful offensive line and playing really good football. So you have the quarterback. That's number one building block. Now go do everything else. And I like, you know us, Jay, but get offensive coaches in the building, especially with your rookie quarterback, because if you find one that gels, then you don't lose them as you go through. So if you're rebuilding an organization, you need that strong offensive coordinator, rookie quarterback connection. And also, if I'm them, it also means you can trade the first overall pick in the draft. You're totally right, because you've actually got your quarterback. So they can fix that offensive line with whatever left tackles are coming out. They can, the defense has been woeful. So again, defensive coordinator. Yeah, exactly. So here we go again, defensive coordinator with a terrible defense, but you get Travis Hunter to play as your best wide receiver and your best fucking cornerback.
With Gonzalez.
Christian Gonzalez. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, though. Hunter and Gonzalez, that's a young, nasty secondary, and then get you a pass rusher and shit, you're on your way.
Yeah, when people are like saying Travis Hunter can't play both ways, I just totally disagree with that, because if he's the second or third cornerback on the team, then he can play both ways. Because if he's the second or third wide receiver and he's the second or third cornerback, then he can play both ways. That's fine. So if you have Christian Gonzalez there,
why can't he be your fourth or fifth wide receiver that you just bring out in packages too? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, I don't get it. It's just old head thinking in the NFL. It's like, no, like, and they're conditioned. They can do this. Like, it's fine.
And it frees up a roster spot. Now you can carry one less receiver or one less corner or however you want to do it. But yeah, I don't know. People are dumb.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand that. But yeah, I don't hate that. Jay, my final overreaction is Mike McDaniel will be on the hot seat next season.
Yeah, and I think he should be.
Yeah, look, he won a game without Tua. He won against the Browns, 20 points to 3. But his play calling in that game was horrendous.
And Tyler Huntley saved their ass.
Yeah. Obviously, I was in my feelings because he basically sat Devon Achane in the second half, which not great for me in fantasy. Really put me in my feelings there. But Devon Achane's been their best player all season, and you decide to run the ball with Raheem Mostert. You didn't say, oh, maybe we shouldn't just be, maybe running it up the middle is the idea that's wrong. You said, oh, no, maybe we just do it with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. instead. And it was like, no. The problem is your offensive line isn't good enough to run up the middle. You haven't been running up the middle all season. Why the fuck are you trying to run up the middle right now? Or because it's raining, because it's this, because it's that. Run to the outside, but but Myles Garrett's out there. Okay, run the other way. It was so surreal.
Or how about you just double Myles Garrett and run that way too? Okay.
If you can't scheme an offense to run against a defensive end, I get it's difficult to scheme an offense to run up the middle if you're just completely overmatched against defensive tackles. But if you can't scheme open an offense to run against a defensive end, you are not an NFL offensive genius. You are not a genius in the NFL. If you can't work out how to run the ball when you have Devon in an original way, when you have Huntley at quarterback who can run the ball, you have Devon Achan who is a catch the ball out of the backfield running back, probably one of the best dual threat running backs in the league, one of the most underrated running backs in the league, in my opinion. You have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You are not an offensive mind genius. Like, I think it just shows again and again and again. And it's like, oh, but he's not got Tua. And it's like, since when has the NFL media decided that Tua Tagovailoa? Because we've been good with Tua Tagovailoa. We think Tua Tagovailoa is amazing. When has the NFL media decided that Tua is amazing? And it's like, you can't run an offense without Tua. Like, it's surreal. Like, with those weapons, you're not an offensive genius if you can't do that. And I think he'll be on the hot seat. He's lucky he's in Miami. Because he suits Miami very well. He's lucky he's in Miami. Otherwise, he might have lost his job in that one. All right, Jay, moving on to our next segment. Here we move on to our Week 17 awards. This is where we choose our Week 17 MVP and our Week 17 Rookie MVP. Jay, who is your Week 17 MVP to start?
So Week 17 MVP this week does not stand for most valuable player. It stands for most valuable person.
Right. Okay.
Kevin O'Connell is my MVP this week.
Nice. I feel like hasn't been getting the love that he deserves. Is definitely the coach of the
because
year.
All of us Vikings fans have been waiting for Sam Darnold to turn back into a pumpkin. But I think we've finally gotten to the point where we're like, no, this is Sam. This is who Sam is.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a few players that deserve MVP this week, but I went in a more kind of contrarian way. So I've still picked a player, but like there's some, like Jaden Daniels, obviously, maybe he'll be your rookie MVP, but like we give it to Jaden Daniels all the time. Too easy. We give it to Jaden Daniels all the time. Bucky Irving was amazing. Baker Mayfield was amazing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brock Bowers beats the receiving thing. These are all rookies that I'm putting out there, but there was some amazing performances. But
a handful of rookie receivers lost their mind this week. But
Malik Neighbors as well. But Jay, my MVP, my Week 17 MVP, like the most valuable player to his organization is J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins comes back, runs for 76 yards, one touchdown, and the Chargers are a completely different team when J.K. Dobbins is there. Yeah, you were right. If it's the most valuable player to that organization, the team that look the most different from a player coming back and playing, like he only ran for 76 yards and one touchdown, but they're just completely different with him there. It's like how George Pickens just completely changes the Steelers' defense. Now, it didn't against the Chiefs because for some reason they just refused to throw him the ball. But George Pickens changes life for the Pittsburgh Steelers. J.K. Dobbins changes life for the Chargers as well when he's there.
Both of them changed the way you have to play defense.
Yeah, definitely. And it opens up when J.K. Dobbins is there, then Ladd McConkey gets 2 touchdowns and has a huge receiving game and those kind of things as well. So for me, J.K. Dobbins, rookie MVP of Week 17.
Okay, there was a lot of people, and you named some of them. I'm glad you did.
The rookies went crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, the rookies went crazy.
I picked this guy because of the poor team he's on, but he is having a fucking amazing year, and he balled out this week. Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, the Brian Thomas Jr. was definitely in the running for mine as well, but he was awesome. He was awesome as well. Has been awesome all season, and a guy that I didn't really rate coming out, but should have rated him coming out because he was very, very good. The rookies went crazy last week. Like all of my MVP picks, I was like, hang on, like, am I going to have to just do 2 rookies? Why do you think that was that the rookies went crazy in Week 17?
No idea.
I think it could be something to do with the vets know it's time to save yourself. Like if you're on a losing team, save yourself. If you're on a playoff team, save yourself. Like that could be it. But it was just like the rookies just went absolutely ballistic this week. Drew Lock also could have been an MVP for Week 17, which would have been quite funny, but as well. But Jay, my Week 17 rookie MVP, I decided to go to the defense for this because I don't think defenses are getting enough love. Brandon Frisk from the LA Rams, 5 pressures, 2 sacks in a defensive struggle for LA. The Rams are going to, if the Rams go through to the Super Bowl, they're going to get there on defense, and it's because of their rookie defensive players that they'll get there.
Yeah, I like it. Rex Havoc made life hell on the fucking quarterback, always disrupting shit. They got Jared Verse there too, which always helps.
Yeah.
That they help each other like free up, because now the defense has to decide which one of them do we double team and how do we do it. So they've done a lot of great. They've had a lot of great draft picks through the fuck them picks era.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just from the Giants being one of the most dysfunctional, the Rams might be one of the most well-run entirely. Now, the Eagles kind of, like Howie Roseman just is amazing. Like Howie Roseman is just an absolute wizard. The Chiefs obviously are the Chiefs, and they've got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that. But in terms of like the actual decision making, the LA Rams might be the best. It's just not every decision can be a like process. When we talk about process, I always think the LA Rams' process is just amazing, and they've done it again with rebuilding that defense. Jay, our final thing for week 17 is to go to GMJ, which is where I ask you some questions that are burning for the GM jobs. And most of mine, and actually none of mine, are reactions to week 17. They're all looking forward, one to week 18 and one to 2025. And then one looking back on all of 2024 as well. But Jay, we've already alluded to it. The Eagles are deciding to sit Saquon Barkley. Jay, would you be playing Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, and especially after he came out in his own interview and told Sirianni he wanted to go for it. And right there should have been enough to go for it. And I know they're like saving for the playoffs and do this and that. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for him to cement himself in NFL history. And if you get this record with the career he's had, and first ballot Hall of Famer, it fucking means something. There's like, Deion Sanders said there should be tiers to the Hall of Fame, right? There should be the Hall of Fame and then that special upstairs hall. And I don't know. I feel like you do your guy a disservice by not going after that record. I think the offensive line wants that record just as much as Saquon does, because that says a lot about them. I think you risk the injury to players to go get that record, and it's the Giants. He can get it against the team that he left on weird terms, and it's the Giants. He could probably get this in a quarter and a half. Yeah.
So. I agree with all of that. Also, the other part of that is the Eagles have been Howie Roseman has created an amazing team. If I'm a team looking for a GM, I'm backing the bring struck up to Howie Roseman and seeing if I can get him out of Philadelphia. Obviously, just that's also good for me because obviously I hate the Eagles. But outside of Howie Roseman, the Eagles have been a ridiculously noisy franchise this year, and that's not something that you want going into the playoffs. Like, they've played very well through the noise, but it becomes exhausting in the playoffs, and this is just creating more noise. And it's Nick Sirianni wins games, and that's what coaches do. Like, so you can't take that away from him. Whatever he does as a coach, he wins games, right? Good. He also creates a lot of that noise himself, which is one thing that you don't want a coach to do, and I guess it matches the vibes of Philly and those kind of things.
Yeah, I think you kind of lose your players too, right? In the mix of this, you lose the locker room because guys want to know that the coach is going to do like what's best for the player. And I don't mean health-wise. I mean, Saquon's going to get paid more off of this. He's going to get, Hall of Fame's going to be easier. His fucking legacy. Like, and what is he, 101 yards away? Like, come on, just go get that.
Yeah, and what is also crazy about this is we have mic'd up footage from the past 2 weeks of Saquon saying, no, let the young guys play in the fourth quarter, where he could have been running out, getting those yards to get there. Because what is he, like 130 short or something like that? 101 yards short, because he had an absolutely huge day against the Cowboys. If he played in those fourth quarters of games, instead of being a good guy saying, let the young guys play, he could have got it already. Like, and Nick Sirianni was sat next to him saying, if you want to go for it, I'll put you in. And he was like, no, let the young guys play. And now you're at the end of the season and he's saying he wants to play and you're not letting him in. That just, it disenfranchises your best players. In a year where we've seen Jalen Hurts doesn't get on with Nick Sirianni, AJ Brown has said a few things which would indicate he doesn't necessarily get on with Nick Sirianni. Guy who's never said anything bad about Nick Sirianni, Saquon Barkley, is now got a reason to be mad at Nick Sirianni. Like, it's not. I understand it from a winning the Super Bowl perspective, like I really do, but like, it's not a good look for the team. So I would have been.
It's one of those once in a lifetime things you got to go for. Like,
and as you say, he could have it done in the first half. Like he could have it done in the first half against the Giants as well. So 100 yards, like we could have that. Okay.
And you're not risking Jalen by having him hand the ball off fucking 15 times.
Yeah, well, Jalen's you're not playing Jalen anyway.
Well,
surely.
I'm playing. If I'm them, I'm playing all the starters that are healthy because I want to pick this up and get them on the bench. So I want my full offense because I want my offensive line out there for him. I'm going to go get him this 100 yards, and then we're going to all just hit the bench. Hopefully by
but then you don't. To do that, you don't have to do that. You can have Kenny Pickett out there. Like to do that, Kenny Pickett could be there.
I think Jalen makes it easier, like to pick that.
Yeah, he does make it easier, but he's obviously just coming off a concussion and like a hand injury.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
as well.
I forgot
he didn't play last week, so you maybe just give him one more week before the playoffs.
No, you're right.
And McAtee, is that his name? You could have McAtee out there as well because Kenny Pickett against the Cowboys got absolutely blown up like quite a few times. So, and a few hits that were questionable from Micah, but I'm all for it. Jay, who was the best GM of 2024? Who gets your vote for the best GM award of 2024?
All right, Kawasi's an honorable mention because I think he's done an amazing fucking job with the guys he's brought in with Gennard and Van Ginkel and Sam Darnold and the way they got JJ done finally. But isn't the answer always Howie Roseman? Isn't that always the correct answer to the question? Who's the best GM? But the GM, I forget his fucking name, and he's on McAfee a lot. The GM from Buffalo has done a fucking amazing job.
Yeah, moving on from Stephon Diggs and being able to still keep those guys. Kevin Adams, but it's spelt in the Welsh way, by the look of it, with a big old Y in it, which is fun. But Kevin Adams as well, Buffalo. GMs, I think honorable mention to Brad Holmes as well, the GM of the Lions. Right, what we were saying about how Dan Campbell needs to get out of this underdog mentality. It's because they built an amazing roster, and I don't think Dan Campbell has much in recruitment and stuff like that.
I don't want to sound like the scoring girlfriend, but they made an amazing starting roster, but they don't have any depth.
They have zero depth. Yeah, they have zero depth. But yeah, the Eagles could be. Yeah, no, the Eagles have like quite a lot of depth as well. They have these next up players. I think the correct answer is always Howie Roseman, isn't it? And Jay, GMs seem to be becoming more and more important, almost more important than coaches in the NFL, because now there's so little time to actually do coaching in the NFL. Like, coaches are ridiculously important, but I would say coordinators, and if your head coach is a coordinator as well, this is very helpful, but coordinators and GMs is actually the most important job for an NFL roster, because you can't actually get down and like get the pads and run the defense and all of that. And actually, in terms of coaching and making players better, there's no time for that in the NFL. How much money do you give to a GM? Like, if you're the New York Jets, how much money do you give to Howie Roseman to come and be your GM?
For a guy like Howie, you back it up. But what I just learned this year from watching Ian Rappaport and them talk about it, and Flores talk about it, GMs only get like $4 or $5 million, where coaches are getting anywhere from like 8 to 25 million.
Yeah, for me, if it's Howie Roseman, I'm more towards that 20-25 million. If I'm the Jets, like if I'm the Jets who've never been run well, I'm like Howie.
But then you got to give up draft compensation too and get the Eagles to be willing to trade him.
Yeah, that's okay for 1 year though, isn't it? But for 20 million, Howie Roseman can force his way out, surely. And also, like, cool, like
maybe Jeffrey
give up the
Lurie
draft
matches that.
conversation.
Maybe Jeffrey Lurie is like, you ain't go. I'll match that.
Yeah, but well, if he does, then fucking good for Howie Roseman, right? But like, if you're the Jets, you
But
ask
I
the
get
question.
your point.
Yeah, if you're the Jets or if you're the Giants, or you definitely don't let him go to the Giants. If you're the Eagles, then you pay the money. But if you're like the Saints, who are constantly in cap hell and all of that kind of stuff, like
I don't know if you've noticed, but GMs never get a second chance in the NFL. Coaches do.
Yeah, it's strange, and I think GMs are worth more. Like the reason that the Dallas Cowboys haven't gone to an NFC Championship game in 27 years now is 26 years, 29 years is because the GM, like Jerry Jones is the GM, and he constantly makes bad decisions that cost them getting through to that kind of level. So if the Cowboys had Howie Roseman, we'd be in the Super Bowl like all the time.
It's the team, right? Because situations are situational, as McAfee says.
Yeah,
because I think for the Vikings, KOC is more important than Kawasi.
Yeah, but that's because KOC is fucking amazing. Like that's KOC as a offensive coordinator as well, right? Because like coordinate, it's not necessarily the coaching for KFC though that does the job. It's the being the offensive coordinator, like for me, and being the general manager. Part of that is also getting the right coaching staff, like they're with you as well on the job. So I agree with you. KOC is more important than Kawasi, but I think they run that in tandem. Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman do not run that organization in Philly in tandem. Howie Roseman runs that organization. Nick Sirianni's kind of there, and Howie Roseman also puts together the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator to help Nick Sirianni as well. And Nick Sirianni does the job that he's expected to do, and he does that job well, of the job that he's expected to do. So, yeah, I'm backing the money up for a good GM. I would love to have a good GM in Dallas. I think Howie Roseman is the best GM in 2024, but there's a few guys out there. Brian Poles also for the Chicago Bears. Like I think Brian Poles has made the right decision at every single turn. I just think some of them just haven't worked out for him. A lot of that's due to coaching and ownership as well. Jay, looking forward.
I want to apologize, guys. My dog is being super needy, so you didn't need to deal with that the last couple times. So sorry I jumped out on you, but I don't think you need to hear me tell her to get off me and go lay down.
Jay, looking forward to 2025 now. What is the best open GM job for next season? What is the best job that is going to become open for a GM?
If the Pats clean house, it's the Pats. But that's a good question. I haven't thought about that this year at all. I'm trying to think what GMs I think will be gone for sure. I think the Pats job, if it's open, is the best job. And I don't know. I mean, the Giants fucked that up. That could have been a great thing to get Shador in there and then have Malik Neighbors, but they fucked that whole thing up. Maybe the Jets. Jets got a lot of talent. If you can get Woody Johnson out of the way, maybe the Jets.
Yeah, I think the Jets are the one that springs to mind for me, but only if you can get the assurances from ownership that you'll be able to run the team yourself. Like you'll be able to run the team without the interference of ownership. I think that's for a lot of teams as well. Patriots, you get Robert Kraft, who is a great owner who really cares about the football team. So like you get the great owner.
Starting to hear his son's being meddlesome though.
Yeah, I'm sure. The thing is, I'm sure Robert Kraft will deal with that, like just while he can. You know, I'm sure he'll tell his son to get out of the fucking way.
I think we have a new Jerry Jones on our hands from the way it sounds, though, with Robert Kraft's son, who's taking over more and more control of the team.
Yeah, great, awesome for the Jet.
And those two families, I don't know if people know this, but the Krafts and Jerry Jones family do not like each other.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Like, I mean, the two biggest, like probably two of the biggest owners in the NFL.
And they're two of the most powerful, and I guess they butt heads a lot.
Yeah. It's like I like Robert Kraft as a person. I hate his company. Like they bought like some UK chocolate companies, and they basically then told production to move to Poland and then make it in the same way that you guys do in the US. So then the UK government had to change what we legally call chocolate here in the UK, because like Hershey's in the UK can't be called chocolate. It's chocolate flavored because it doesn't have enough chocolate in it. It has so much fucking palm oil. Like honestly, Hershey's to like Europeans tastes like straight vomit, like because of the enzyme that they put in there for them. Anyway, oh guys, I used to be a tour guide in a chocolate museum in York. That's why I feel so passionate about this. But they took it away, and then he basically went, "Oh, okay, sick," and then like sold it, like still owns it, but he has to comply to the regulations and stuff like now, so it tastes better again, which is good. I didn't like that part of him.
I like any billionaire who's in a cheap fucking rub and tug getting a handy. I don't know. Like, I don't know why you get caught in a cheap one, but hey, fuck it.
Yeah, why are you getting caught? Like, you can pay a lot of money to just not be caught doing that.
Like, have them come to you and yeah.
It's like Urban Meyer's rich enough to have not done that. You know, like Urban Meyer was a rich enough head coach to have not done that as well. It's so surreal. But yeah, Jay, I think they're the best. I think they're the best two jobs out there. I guess the Tennessee job, you have the ability to create it from the ground up yourself.
I don't think that one's going to open up, though.
No,
they just hired that guy and he ran Vrabel out.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. It's like you don't want the Saints job because they're in fucking cap hell again. And always, they just
Gail
remain.
Benson. You don't want Gail Benson as your fucking owner.
Yeah, like the Raiders. Like, you want the Raiders job? Like, a dysfunctional organization for a long time. Like, for me, the Jets have a really talented roster. So if you eat shit for the first couple of years while you're trying to like sort out the quarterback position, sort out the structures behind the scenes, at least you have the talent there. Where like the Jets are probably not going to go like 2-14 or something like that. Like, they have enough talent there to at least be around 500. So me, it's the Jets, and I'll take the Patriots job as well for the good ownership and the long history. If I can get rid of Gerard Mayo, Jay, just to finish. We have games on Saturday for Week 18. Moving on to our Week 18 predictions now. These are two games that do matter, but don't matter. Like, they definitely do matter. They 100% matter. But when you look at the spreads, it becomes really strange. So if the Ravens beat the Browns, then the game no longer matters for the Steelers, but it does matter for the Bengals to put the Bengals out. That's where we're at, right?
Right.
So if the Ravens win, they win the division. If the Ravens lose and the Steelers win the division. If the Ravens lose and the Steelers lose, the Ravens win the division. So if the Ravens win, then the Steelers can almost just give up the game if they want to. I don't know whether they will. Like, maybe they want to actually try and get something going because they've looked shit for the past few weeks. But Jay, the Ravens are 19.5-point favorites against the Cleveland Browns. 19.5 points. It was 20. But Jay, should the Browns be starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson in this game?
Yes.
Technically the worst stats in NFL history for a quarterback that started this many games.
Yes. Because you have enough losses to get a better draft pick. Keep moving up. Right? You got to get up there.
Yeah, definitely.
And definitely. I think they're the perfect team if they can get up there to draft a rookie quarterback, because you've got to do something because Deshaun Watson's fucking killing you. And he is going to be the most overpaid backup in the history of the NFL. But you're going to have to go there. Like, you can't spend 3 more years with Deshaun Watson. You can't fucking do it.
Yeah, just get him out of the building. Just ask him not to come. Just say, we'll still pay you, but just don't come. Like, we'll still pay you, but just go do whatever the hell you want.
The Keyshawn Johnson rule, they can do that too because of Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah, I don't think that Deshaun Watson is ever going to play football again.
Yeah, I never thought about that until you said it. And then I thought, he is 100% right. But I never thought about that.
Why would Deshaun Watson ever play football again? Just like the amount of hate that he gets. Like, take your money.
Well, and even if he wanted to, who's gonna bring him into a building?
Yeah, no one's gonna bring him into a building. Like, take your money, go enjoy your fucking life, invest in a few businesses, just not a massage parlor, and go invest in anything else, right? And just enjoy your life. Like, have a great time. See you later. You made some mistakes. You stopped playing football for a while. You've been shit since you've come back, and you just don't look happy. So here's your money. Here's your final payment. Get out of this fucking building and just go enjoy the rest of your life.
And open a chain of massage parlors called A Dick on Your Leg.
Yeah, I know. I just said you can't. I just said surely you can't open a massage parlor. It's like the one business like not to invest in for him, right? But yeah, just get him out of the building. I think they should be playing Dorian Thompson-Robinson as well. Jameis Winston gives them way too high of an opportunity to actually win the game. Now, Jameis Winston gives them a high enough opportunity to fucking get blown out by 50 as well. But sometimes Jameson Williams will just go, which is what happened when the Ravens played the Browns the last time. The last time the Ravens played the Browns won that game. Jameis Winston's first game back in starting for the Browns, and he just played the classic James Winston game against the Ravens defense, which is kind of weak against the pass, threw for 4 touchdowns and those kind of things, and just went absolutely fucking crazy. And if he does that again, he ruins your draft pick again for your organization. So yeah, I think you're right, Jay. In that one, do start Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Jay, an important part of this when you're thinking about the point spread here is, are the Ravens out for revenge? So there's the win the division, and then are they out for revenge?
No, and this is what I think happens, and this is what I'll tell you my point spread. I think going into the fourth quarter, they're going to be up by like 24 or 28 points, and they're going to just rest everybody, and the Browns will get a couple cheap scores at the end, and the Ravens will win by like 12 and got to rest some guys. So I'm taking the Browns and the points.
Yeah, my next question to you, Jay, was like, when you take everything into account, the fact that the Browns have played a few close games this year, like defensively, they're still okay. Like they're still decent on the defensive side of the ball. Jerry Jeudy has had a few big games as well. The fact that they beat them the last time they played against them, and the fact that realistically the Ravens could start resting people from the end of the first half. They can start resting people in the second half. Like, will they rest everyone? No. Will Derrick Henry get a carry in the second half if they're up by 20 points? No, I don't think he should. Like, I think that would be ridiculous. So I'm going to take the Browns in this one as well, just because of the size of the point spread. 19.5. That's the biggest point spread we've seen this season. It's already coming down from 20. Like, it was 20 when I first started looking last night. When I woke up this morning to redo them, it was 19.5. So like it's already coming down as we go through. Jay, the Bengals are actually 2.5 point favorites against the Steelers. Jay, for this point spread, do you think it's people think the Bengals are better than the Steelers, or do you think the point spread is taking into account that the Ravens are probably going to win, and therefore the Steelers might start looking to rest some players in their game as well?
Yeah, that might have something to do with it. I don't think people are really sold on the Steelers yet, and the Bengals have been on fire the last few weeks, and they know that they need to win to even have a shot to get into the playoffs. I think that has a lot to do with it. And with that being said, I am taking the Bengals minus 2.5 in this game, and it is one of my locks of the week.
Oh, wow. It is good to bet on a – it is good to bet on a
you realize how hard it was to even pick games that I would bet on this week? Okay.
You kind of have to pick the games that'll actually mean something.
Correct.
Going through this week, which is always interesting as well. Jay, with that in mind then, what has gone wrong for the Steelers in the past few weeks? Because they looked like they were one of the best teams in the AFC, and then what's gone wrong for them in the past few weeks? Well,
people are starting to – okay, Pickens not playing hurts. People are starting to understand what they can and cannot do on offense, right? And they're playing accordingly. and the way they win, it's hard to win punch you in the mouth 1-score games all the time.
Yeah, definitely. It is hard to win that way. It's especially hard to win that way when you lose your best corners as well. So Joey Porter Jr. going out in the past 3 games, they've given up 29 points to the Chiefs, 34 points to the Ravens, 27 points to the Eagles, 27 points to the Steelers, 38 points to the Bengals, and then it starts to go back down again as we go back through.
Part of
38 points to the Bengals they won by.
Part of that, though, is the punch you in the mouth defense, right? Like, it's hard to sustain that. It's kind of like you were talking with Dan Campbell and the Lions. You can't just play like a missile on every play and expect not to get injured.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And TJ Watt always slows down around this time of the year and stuff like that as well. So, however, I also think if you look through those last games that they've played, they played against the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Eagles. The Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Eagles. So they've lost 3 games in a row. Yeah, against the best teams in their division when George Pickens was injured and Joey Porter Jr. was injured. Both who were fit for this game against the Bengals.
So that kind of makes them like the Packers, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes them like the Packers, where I think like the 4th, 5th best team in the AFC, right? That's where I think they're around, and that's where I think they always were. Like I thought they might be better than the Ravens just because of how the Ravens started the season. I also, Jay, do not believe in the Bengals at all, because as we read through the Bengals' last wins, their only good one was against the Broncos last week. It was then like the Cowboys' weird special teams win, the Browns, like teams that only won 3 games. It was like the Browns, the Giants, the Cowboys, and then the Broncos has been their only decent win. So I don't believe in the Bengals. Give me the Steelers in this game as well. I think the Steelers will play this as if it matters. I think even if the Ravens win, I think the Steelers will play their team just because of the type of team that they are and the fact that they actually want to get something going into the playoffs. Like, you don't want to go into the playoffs after 4 straight defeats. Like, that's not how you want to go into the playoffs. Jay, I guess that means... Sorry, go on.
Did you just take the Steelers in that game?
Yeah.
Like, for real?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Steelers are actually going to play their team.
Even if they do, you think that the Bengals, who are fighting and scratching and clawing to get into the playoffs, and Joe Burrow's been playing the way he has. All right. No, okay.
Yeah. I think it's a divisional rivalry, and the last time they played against each other, the Steelers scored 44 points. That was only 5 weeks ago. The Steelers played 44 points.
The last time they had some help getting extra possessions that I don't think will happen too. But okay.
Yeah, that's also true as well. But I think they'll actually play tough. I think Mike Tomlin isn't the kind of coach that'll let his players drift into the playoffs. And George Pickens is healthy.
They can play their whole starting roster, and I still think they lose this game. That's the thing. So okay. All
right. That'll be a fun one then. That makes that game should be a fun game anyway. It's also very, very close in the point spread. So that could be that's going to make it even more fun that we're so opposite on that one. I just don't believe in the Bengals at all. Jay, we now go into our week 18 best bets. Guys, if you are betting this week, take into account who's going to be missing, who's going to be playing, like look for who's actually playing for stuff. This is maybe not the best week to bet.
1 and 18 are the dumbest weeks to bet, but okay.
Yeah. I think this would be a strange time to bet. Jay, on our best bets going into the final week, I have had a really shitty past 2 weeks. I'm 0-6 in the past 2 weeks, which makes me on the season 27 and 24 on the season. Jay, you are 29 and 22. So I'm 2 games back going into the best bets of the season in our championship here for best bets. Jay, your first best bet was the Bengals at -2.5 against the Steelers. Jay, my first best bet is the Chiefs at plus 10.5 against the Denver Broncos. I know the reason for this point spread is because the Chiefs are putting together all of their starters, are sitting all of their starters. But I still think a double point spread against a Chiefs team that'll still want to win, still has Andy Reid, and their backup quarterback is Carson Wentz. Like, they still have like the ability to beat the Denver Broncos. And by the time the Broncos play, this game could not mean anything for the Denver Broncos as well. Like, by the time the Broncos play, if the Bengals lose, I believe the Broncos are in. So it could mean nothing for them as well. Give me the 10.5 on this game, but it's not a great game to bet. I'm taking big swings because I knew you probably weren't going to pick that one, and I'm trying to catch up in the best bet division.
All right, because I'm not touching that double-digit fucking.
Yeah, the Chiefs best bet. I don't think the Chiefs are going to go into the playoffs losing by 11 points against a division rival. That's the other part of the Steelers-Bengals game as well. It's a division rival.
I'm not even sure they lose 100%. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so so I'm taking the Chiefs at 10.5.
No, I know, but that's still a ton of points. Like, it's just that I'm not touching a 10 point.
No, they're 10.5 point dogs.
Yeah, I'm not touching 10 points either way because.
Oh, right, got you.
Yeah, they're sitting all of their starters. Like, so yeah.
That makes sense. Sorry, Jay. What's your second pick of?
So my second pick is because one of these teams still have seeding to play for, and so it is the Commanders minus 6.5 versus the Cowboys.
I knew you were gonna pick that one. The Cowboys aren't playing for anything. And the Commanders are playing for seeding. And the Commanders are like... Now, the Commanders actually are a vibes team. Like, the Lions shouldn't be a vibes team. The Commanders actually are a vibes team. And the Commanders lost to the Cowboys earlier in the season. You don't want to get swept by this Dallas Cowboys team as well. So, if we're having to pick games, I don't necessarily hate that one. Although I do think because the Cowboys beat them the last time they played, and I know the Cowboys aren't playing for anything, but they're also not paying for draft pick seeding. Like, their draft pick isn't going to change dramatically either way. I could see the Cowboys actually playing that game hard, so that's why I haven't picked it. But I don't necessarily disagree with it either. Jay, my second pick is a game that actually means something. It's like a good game to pick because both teams are playing for something no matter what happens. The Vikings versus the Lions. Give me the Vikings at 2.5. I can't see that.
Vikings 2.5 at the Lions.
Yeah, give me the Vikings at 2.5. So that's your third pick.
Yeah, and I fucking hate it too because I would never bet on a Vikings game. So, but I had to pick a realistic game that like you kind of know who's playing and who's not. So I went with the Vikings plus 2.5 at the Lions.
Yeah, it makes loads of sense to actually pick on this game. So no matter which way you think this game will go, it makes loads of sense to pick on that game.
Oh, I just made it harder on you.
Oh, yeah. It means that we can only draw going in. It means I have to go 3-0, and you have to go
1-2.
1-2. For us to just draw is where we're at, but that's okay. We're a team player. I'm a team player, Jay.
It's like the playoffs. If the Steelers win, I win.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Steelers lose, I'm in. If the Steelers
exactly.
win, you're still in the run. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, definitely. Go. That's where we're at.
I like it.
Yeah, I think the Vikings can win that game, and the fact that they're dogs is surprising to me with the Detroit Lions defensive issues.
The Detroit Lions offense makes up for a lot of those defensive issues, and they're at home.
Yeah.
Ford Field's going to be fucking rocking. It is going to be insane. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere because now both teams are going to the playoffs, but it is huge on where the Super Bowl runs through. Does it run through Minnesota or does it run through fucking Detroit? And that is huge.
It is the highest leverage game in the NFL regular season that I can remember.
All right, Vikings, you want to be champions, you got to go win this game. So go get this game.
Yeah, exactly. Jay, my final best bet for week 18, and I kind of put this on there because I love the spread. Like, the spread is just really funny to see. The Dolphins are underdogs to the New York Jets by 0.5 points.
5 point, yeah, 0.5, yeah.
0.5, half a point. That's the spread. Give me the Dolphins in this game.
I almost took
I'm never
the
picking
Jets.
I hate the Jets. Never picking the Jets for anything ever again because they fucked me again against the Bills, and never picking them ever again. Look, the way it's ending there in the season, like, they've been dysfunctional all season, but I think now they might be at their most dysfunctional. Like, Aaron Rodgers has been playing well, then played really badly against the Bills. Garrett Wilson is saying words through his agent saying, if they keep Aaron Rodgers next year, then trade me. Like, if they're like, the locker room clearly doesn't like him. I think the Jets, it's just an end to the season, you know. And Tua should be back, I believe, for the Dolphins as well.
And that's when Aaron Rodgers gives you a big fuck you and puts up 40.
Classic. No matter which way I go in the Jets, I tend to lose. So I don't know why I'm picking them, but if the 0.5 spread was so funny to see for me, so I just thought I'd put it out there. All right, guys. That was all of the segments for the show ahead of a really exciting week 18, where you guys can actually pick the games that actually mean something. You don't have to keep abreast of all the games. We won't be talking really about any games unless there's something crazy if they didn't mean something on week 18. So, like, there's your preview going forward. Thank you so much, guys. Jay, send us out like you always do.
Oh, I'd like to quickly give Roger Goodell a fuck you for moving the Viking Packer game to 7:20. So fuck you for making me wait all fucking day on Sunday to watch that game. But okay.
Means I have to stay up till 3 a.m. 3 a.m. Like, it's when the game starts.
I literally take it
3.
harder than the players, bro. Like, I literally take it harder than the players. I take it personal. I am the ridiculous fan that thinks we should score on every fucking drive and we should stop them on a 3 and out on every fucking drive. Like, I am ridiculous. The ebbs and flows of a normal game when it's not my team. I get it. I completely understand it. This is what's going to happen. When it's the Vikings, I'm just a fucking wreck. It's ridiculous. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out MMA Underground. They'll be back Tuesday from the Christmas and New Year's because that's how it landed. So you get to see them after 3 weeks. I know they're excited to be back. So make sure you tune into that, and you will see us again on Sunday. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.